immigrating to the United States is an extremely complicated process. Anyone who's ever immigrated can tell you that it is not only a whole lot of paperwork, it is a lot of finances that go into it. And not only that, but you have to meet certain criteria. If you do not meet the criteria, then you cannot even apply to immigrate. And so you may be asking, well, what are those criteria? How do you make yourself fit that criteria? Well, the fact is that that criteria is not something that you can make yourself fit into. It's something that you're born into or something that you somehow wind up with. Let me give you an example. The most common way of immigrating is through what's called an I-130 or a familial petition. Familial petition is exactly what it means. It's a family member requesting you. If you do not have an immediate family member, that is a brother, sister, mother, father, or daughter or son over the age of 21 who is an American citizen, then you have no way of qualifying for that petition. And you can't just say, okay, now I have a brother who's an American citizen. You can't do that. That's something that's beyond your control. You cannot control what country your parents were born in. You cannot control the legal status of any of your family members. And so that keeps you from being able to immigrate in that way. Other ways of immigrating are if you're from a country that's in warfare and you can claim political asylum. Unfortunately, the countries that meet that criteria are extremely limited. Not even countries like Nigeria or other African countries that are third world countries. Not even those people qualify for asylum because the countries that can fit into that criteria are very limited. And Mexico, the country that I was born in, is certainly not one of the ones that meets that criteria. Another way that you can immigrate is if you have $1 million and you want to have, you want to be an investor. As an 8-year-old child, I had probably $1 in my pocket. Nowhere near the amount of money that I would have needed to be able to apply for an investor visa. And so because of the way that the immigration system is set up, immigrating to the United States is extremely difficult, particularly if you were brought to this country as a child and really were never even given the choice of whether you wanted to be here or not. That's a very good question. A lot of people will take the argument, illegal is illegal is legal, and so if you came here illegally, then you did something wrong, and you are here in the wrong, and you need to go back to wherever you came from. The fact is, put yourself in the shoes of an 8-year-old child who has absolutely no concept of what legal is or illegal is or paperwork, who could barely even write in cursive, much less understand the complexities of the immigration system. At the age of 8, there's no way that I could have made a conscious decision if this is legal, this is illegal. And then people say, well, when you turned 18, you could have then said, well, I'm illegal and I'm an adult, so I'm going to take responsibility and go back to the country that I was born in. The truth is that I could not have done that. At the age of 18, I was a junior in college, had absolutely no family in Mexico, absolutely no one that I knew. And as an 18-year-old woman, given the choice of staying and finishing my college education when I was only 1 year short of completing it, or going to a country that I had no knowledge of, would have had nowhere to stay, what choice would I have made? I mean, the choice is pretty obvious: to stay and to complete my education. I graduated from high school when I was 16 years old. I was valedictorian of my class, graduated with an honors degree, National Merit Scholar. I ended up getting a full scholarship to college, and because of that, I was able to complete my college education. A lot of people say or have told me that that scholarship was unjustly gotten, that I've taken money away from American citizens. The fact is that that scholarship was 100% funded by the university that I attended, which is St. Mary's University in San Antonio. And the money that I received was 100% academic merit, none of which was financial need, none of which was any governmental or state aid. Everything was privately funded solely because of academic merit. And it's a little bit frustrating sometimes to hear people say, well, you shouldn't have had that opportunity, because I think that America is a country of opportunity, and anybody who wants to succeed can do it. If I could do it, being undocumented, being 2 years younger than most of my classmates, having learned English 8 years later than most of my classmates, and being at an economic and social disadvantage because of my undocumented status, and if I could do it despite all of those things, I think that anybody can do it. And so for people that look at my story and say, well, that's unfair that happened to you, I would say to you, reconsider the way that you're looking at that and think about, man, she can do it, but be able to work in or outside of the school, to be able to apply for a lot more scholarships, to be able to complete my education. So I think the primary reason was because my whole extended family was already in the United States and they were here legally. And I think my grandparents saw the discrepancy between the quality of education and the quality of life that we were having as opposed to the rest of their grandchildren who had been born in the United States, who had immigrated as babies to the United States. And they wanted that for us. Of course, every grandparent is going to want the best for their grandchild. And the fact is that, like I said, even though I don't have a lot of memories of living in Mexico, I know that we were extremely poor. We really couldn't afford much of anything. I remember one Christmas being overjoyed because somebody from our church gave my family half a can of Nesquik. And now I think about it, I go to the grocery store and Nesquik is $2, $1.99. And you know, at the time as a child, half a can of Nesquik was a treasure. And so that gives you an idea of what the living conditions were like, or the circumstances were like living in Mexico. And so to be able to go from that to a place where, you know, I've been able to get my education and I've been able to give back to the community, and at the same time have been able to be productive and really progress. Of course, you know, there's no double thinking, you know, of what choice, what life you would opt for. You would opt for living in the United States, and that's exactly what my family did. And a lot of people are saying, why don't you just get married? That would make sense. One, it's against the law to marry somebody just for your papers, so I'm not going to do it. And two, it's really, somebody put it to me this way, and I think this is the best way you can put it. You're escaping one jail for another, because you're escaping, you know, a physical, literal jail for a physical entrapment jail of being in a marriage that you never wanted to be a part of in the first